were not pretty. They looked something like pigs and something like people. And that is not an attractive combination. I don't know what we expected interstellar visitors to look like. Angels, perhaps, or something too alien to be really awful. The Kanmen were short, hairy, their noses were snot-like, and their eyes small. And they had thick hands of 3 fingers each. They wore green shorts, but I think the shorts were a concession to our notion of public decency. To Serve Men by Damon King. There were 3 of them at a session of the UN, and I can't tell you how queer it looked to see them there in a solemn plenary session. 3 fat pig-like creatures in green shorts surrounded by the delegates from every nation. They sat upright, politely watching each speaker. Government could not commit itself as to its future policy without a much more thorough examination. It was what all the delegates were saying, but I had to pay particular attention to Senor Vedette because he tended to sputter, and his diction was bad. I got through the translation all right, with only 1 or 2 hesitations, and then switched to the Polish-English line to hear how Grigori was doing with his delegates, the cross Grigori had to bear, just as Vedel's was mine. He repeated the previous remarks with a few ideological variations, and then the delegate from France introduced Dr. Lebec, the criminologist, and a great deal of complicated equipment was wheeled in. At the request of several delegates and with the full consent of our guest the cabinet, my associates and I have made a series of tests upon the cabinet with the equipment which you see before you. These tests will now be repeated. One of the camera focused on the instrument board of the doctor's equipment. At the same time, on the huge television screen behind the podium, we saw the blank faces of 2 dials, each with its pointer resting at 0. The doctor's assistants were wiring some wires to the temples of one of the candidates, wrapping a canvas-covered rubber tube around his forearm, and taping something to the palm of his right hand. In the screen, we saw a stylus trace a zigzag motion. One of the needles began to jump rhythmically. The other flipped halfway over and stayed there, wavering slightly. These are the standard instruments for testing the truth of the statement. This instrument registers the subject's heartbeat. This shows electric conductivity of the skin in the palm of his hand, and this shows the pattern and intensity of the electrical wave emanating from his brain. Okay, now, how did you come to this planet? What? The instruments responded. There was a subdued ripple of laughter in the chamber. Once more, how did you come to this planet? In a spaceship. The instruments did not jump. Now I shall ask our distinguished guest to reply the question put by the delegates of the Soviet Union. Namely, what is the motive of the cabinet people in offering these great gifts to the people of Earth? I hope that the people of Earth will understand and believe when I tell you that our mission upon your planet is simply this: to bring you peace and plenty which we ourselves enjoy, and which we have in the past brought to the other races throughout the galaxy. When your world has no more hunger, no more war, and no more needless suffering, that will be our reward. And the needles had not jumped once. I met Grigori as we were leaving the chamber. His face was wrapped with excitement. Who prompted the circus? The task looked genuine to me, I told him. A circus in the name of sanity, man. How can anybody trust a thing that looked as if it ate a baby? I was a little annoyed. Are you sure you are no more worried about their politics than their appearance? He said, bah, and went away. The next day, reports
began to come in from all over the world where the Canamit's power source was being tested. Those little metal boxes would give more electrical power than an atomic pile. The next day, the Canamit turned up with plans that would increase the fertility of any arable land by 60 to 100%. The day after that, they dropped their bombshell. It was a box on a tripod with a parabolic reflector on the front of it.
This device generates a field in which no explosive can detonate.
Uncomprehending silence.
If one nation has it, all must have it.
Nobody seemed to understand.
There will be no more war!
And that was the biggest news of the millennium. I quit my job at the UN a few months later because I foresaw it was going to die under me anyhow. Every nation on Earth was well on the way to being complete self-supporting. I accepted the position as a translator with the Canamit Embassy, and it was there I ran into Grigori again. I was glad to see him, but I couldn't imagine what he was doing there.
I thought you were on the opposition.
Don't tell me you're convinced the Canamit are all right. The question of the Soviet delegates was never answered. I'm afraid I snorted. No, really, they told us what they wanted to do to bring you to the peace and plenty which we ourselves enjoy. But they didn't say why. Why do missionaries be damned? Missionaries have a religious motive. If these creatures have a religion, they haven't once mentioned it. What's more, they sent a diplomatic group, cultural cabbage soup. Trust me, there is no such thing as a completely disinterested altruism. In one way or another, they have something to gain. And that's why you're here, to try to figure out what it is. Correct. Grigori frequently kept me posted about his progress. He was highly excited about a month after the first meeting. He got hold of a book of the Canamits and was trying to puzzle it out. They wrote in ideograph worse than Chinese, but he was determined to think of it. My conscience bothered me about the stolen book, but gradually I became absorbed by the problem. Languages are my field, after all. I couldn't help but being fascinated. We got the title worked out in a few weeks. It was How to Serve Men. If there was anybody on Earth besides Grigori who still distrusted those people, he must have been somewhere in the middle of Tibet. The changes that had been wrought in less than a year was astonishing. No more standing armies, no more shortages, no more unemployment. When you picked up a newspaper, you didn't see H-bomb. All news was good. I didn't see Grigori for a fortnight after we finished working out the title of the book. When I saw him, I was shocked by the changes in his appearance. What on earth is wrong with you, Grigori? You look like the very devil. The Canamit, they are not altruist. Well, what about those lie detector tests? Of course, you fool. They told the truth as far as it went. And the book, what about that How to Serve Men? I've read the first paragraph of the book. Why do you suppose I haven't slept for a week? He smiled, a curious, twisted smile. It's a cookbook.